in a little bit. I'll move that in just a
Well, you
second.
gotta, the Facebook Live thing's a little,
It's a
might need to
little
be
long.
pushed
Okay,
back
let
a
me
little
go.
bit.
There you go, buddy. All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is what amateur hour is called.
There you go.
But we have a professional with us today. So Jim Priest is running for United States Senate, Mark Wang Mullen's old seat. And there is a large contingent of people running.
Mhm.
So can I go ahead and run through your resume if you do you mind real quick? All right. So I've known Jim for quite a while, oddly enough. My wife knew him and I know his campaign manager, but I hadn't really gone through your whole stuff. I mean, I was at a pancake breakfast and I was like, I don't remember him being this good of a speaker. And you probably were. I just, I was taking care of Kathy's stuff. So here's the deal. Not only a trial lawyer, which means you probably debate really well and speak really well, all of which is true. Worked for Goodwill. You did, what's the other nonprofit?
Sunbeam
Sunbeam.
Services.
Right. And you're a preacher. You got some other stuff. Not usually what people see in Catholics, in Democrats, because I'm Catholic, and when I usually bring that up, and they're like, oh,
Yep.
next deal. But so let's talk about what got you to run this time, because you run against Scott Pruitt back in the day, which turned out to be a really important election, much like the Joe Dorman one a couple years later, probably the most important in the last 20 years. How does it look now? Because I think if there's a time, it's now.
Yeah.
I just said a lot of stuff there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay, you got anything you want to say before he starts?
This is the Will Rogers Experience Podcast. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Award-winning.
We got Jim Priest right here.
Award-winning.
Award-winning podcast, 2 awards.
Yes.
And we're just growing. So there you go. Welcome to the show, please.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, John. Well, as Sean said, Jim Priest was a trial lawyer for 35 years, represented corporations and people on death row, so a wide variety of cases. I ran for Attorney General in 2010, and that was the year that things really shifted in Oklahoma politics. All of the statewide offices were held by Democrats before the 2010, and after the 2010, all of them were held by Republicans.
Isn't that crazy?
And there's reasons for that we won't get into, but the landscape has changed, and I think the dynamics have certainly changed.
Right.
So I think the wind is at the back for Democrats this year, if there's ever a time for there to be substantial change and improvement. So after losing that race in 2010, I found out they don't give you a consolation prize.
No, there's no second place.
Like a trophy, a participant trophy, nothing. But I learned something from that. I wanted to serve in a bigger way and help more people. So I shifted into the nonprofit world.
Mhm.
I worked for a small organization called Fighting Addiction Through Education, and we went out and spoke to high schools and colleges about the dangers of alcohol and drugs and its impact on athletic performance. And then I shifted to Sunbeam Family Services. We did a wide variety of social services from cradle to the elderly. And then I went to Goodwill, Central Oklahoma, where I served as CEO, which when I got there, that title was Chief Executive Officer, but I changed it to Chief Encouragement Officer.
Oh, there you go.
Because I think that's the job of a leader, is to encourage people. And I thought that was going to be kind of my career. But the more I watched TV, and particularly watched Mark Wayne Mullen on TV, I thought we can do better, and we should do better. So when I go out and speak, I usually ask people 3 questions. Are you happy with the way things are going in our state and nation? And usually it's a resounding no.
Right.
Do you think we could do better? And everybody resounds with a yes.
Right.
And so could we do better if we had a Democrat in the United States Senate, not a Democrat who's a wild-eyed, left-wing wacko, which we've been painted as Democrats.
Yes.
They've done a very good job at painting it.
Yeah.
But it's not true.
And several of the Democrats have been great at following Shaney Keys.
Right.
Eat any bait you throw out at them, and there you go.
Yeah. So I think it's an opportunity for Democrats to redefine ourselves, not in the sense of we're going to change our colors, but we're going to accurately tell people what we've always been, which is we're for working class people. We're the people of FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the New Deal, the Fair Deal,
Right.
trying to make sure that the playing field is level for working people.
Right.
And so that's the theme of my campaign. I decided something needs to be done, and you got the time to do it, so
Right.
let's go.
And what does that mean, making the playing field level for working people.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
That's a great question, Kid, and it has to do with what I call the new fair deal. You know, Harry Truman had the fair deal in 1949,
Okay,
and he tried to bring fairness and extension really of the New Deal, but he was blocked by a Republican Congress, and he could get only a limited amount of things done. I think we have the opportunity to implement a new fair deal. So the way I explain it, it's FAIR. F stands for focusing on family finances. That's the big issue facing people at their kitchen tables every day.
especially right now.
Yeah, people are trying to decide, do I buy groceries or do I get my prescription filled? So we've got to have affordable cost of living, we've got to have affordable housing, we've got to have affordable health care. And then we've got to have access to resources. Rural hospitals come to mind. The A is access to resources. So you could have a closet filled with all the stuff you need, but if it's locked and you can't get in there, you don't
Yeah.
have access to it.
Yep.
It doesn't do you any good.
No,
So we've got to make sure that people who need resources have access to them.
And are getting them, yeah.
And I'll just finish up with A and I, and then I want to come, A and R, I want to come back to access in just a minute. But the I is inspiring confidence in government. We are at an all-time low
yeah,
in people's belief that Congress cares about them, that listens to them. And so we've got to do that through transparency and accountability, hold people responsible, whether it's congressmen who are insider trading and making lots of money,
uh-huh,
or ICE agents shooting people in the street. They've got to be held accountable. And then the last one is restoring our reputation in the international community.
Yeah.
Right now, it's in shambles
Yeah.
because we have reckless diplomatic
Mhm.
relations. We have excursions into foreign countries that we have no business going into. We're bombing
Yeah.
boats, thinking that they might be drug boats, but we don't know. And it's just reckless.
yeah, just putting tariffs on other countries and then
Right.
expecting them to help us and whatever, why aren't you helping us? You guys are talking about not only
Punch you in the
helping us,
face
but
and
taking
ask me
over
why I'm not
Canada.
helping you, right.
You know, so yeah, that's not helpful.
So,
I heard a story, I just want to share this quick story on access to resources, because it has to do with rural healthcare. I was in Pauls Valley recently, and they told me this story that a grandmother had a heart attack. And so her daughter rushed her to the hospital, went into the Pauls Valley hospital parking lot, and then remembered once they got there, oh, the hospital's been closed.
Yeah,
Where do I go? I've got to go to Purcell, 25 miles away. So she jets up there,
Right.
and they get to the parking lot.
Mhm. It's closed, isn't it?
That's, no, it's open, but that's where her mom passed away, in the
Oh.
parking lot, because there wasn't rural health care in Pauls Valley.
it's getting worse.
And that's back to your question, Kit, that's what leveling the
Gotcha.
playing field is. Healthcare, and really all the fair things that we need in life,
Yeah.
shouldn't be the result of your income or your zip code. It should be accessible to everybody.
Yeah,
I would agree. Let me throw a caveat in there and see what you think of this. So in the rural areas, since it's been decimated.
Yeah.
Healthcare wise, is this a point that we do look at doing some AI healthcare? Just to get it back up and running, because if you go, hey, we need 25 million to open this, or we need $1 million to be able to get all the small dose people stuff in and out, like meaning, you have a cold, you have the flu, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Is this a point where we integrate these two, knowing full well they're all coming anyway?
Yeah.
So,
I think we have to look at all options, and I think a number of the larger healthcare institutions in the major metropolitan areas have
Mhm.
done things
Okay.
along those lines.
yeah,
And so you can have a virtual appointment.
Mhm.
That's not the same as having a doctor
correct.
touch you and say, how does that feel? I represented a doctor years ago, and he did a cursory but full physical exam on everybody who came in. And it was kind of unusual, and I asked him about it, he said, that's the way I was trained, because you come in for a sore throat, but I say, Sean, how's your shoulder, are you feeling, oh, yeah, that's been hurting. He said, I diagnosed several instances of cancer that the person was not aware because I touched them.
And they were into something.
So that would be the ideal.
Right.
But if you can't do the ideal, then you gotta do the next
Right.
best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we need a partnership, a public-private partnership with our major health institutions to reach out to the areas that don't have access like they should.
So how are you finding politicking in rural Oklahoma? I found it incredibly welcoming.
Yeah.
But then didn't get votes.
yeah,
Well, yeah, it's, dollars and votes are the two things that candidates are always looking for.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for both candidates and elected officials to listen well. And I learned about listening in marriage, because I was, at the beginning of my marriage, I wasn't very good at it. I thought listening was not talking. And just waiting till she took a breath, and then I could jump in and say what I wanted.
I might be guilty of that. Yeah.
But listening well is different, and I learned this from my brother-in-law, Scott. He leans in physically.
Yeah.
He
Called the
asks-
Robert Redford lean.
Yeah.
That's literally what it's called, yeah.
He asks questions. How did that make you feel? Oh, that must have been very troubling for you. And so I learned from Scott, you've got to engage when you're listening well. And that's what we need to do when we go to rural Oklahoma. We can't go really anywhere in the state and say, sit down, listen to me, I've got the answers.
Yeah.
We need each other. We've got to have collective wisdom. And that's part of humility, which I think is the key characteristic for leaders.
Right.
Humility is not weakness, it's strength under control. And it's recognizing I have talents and abilities, I can do certain things, but I need you, Kit, I need you, Sean, we've got to work together. That's why my overarching theme is bringing America together again. We can do this, but we've got to lay down the finger pointing and the blaming, stop calling each other names, and move together toward a better America.
So I guess the question on this would be, at this point, if you go, okay, let's say you do get in because the Senate's so tight.
Yeah.
I mean, one or two people is gonna make the difference on this whole
And you
thing.
need 67 votes in a lot of cases to get stuff done.
Right, so how do you see that playing out? Cause once again, I've known you for a while, so I know that you're gonna be reasonable, which is seemingly what's lacking. Well, no, I really mean it,
Yeah.
and what I'm going to on this is, you go, what did you see were gonna be the democratic, things that you had to talk about versus the reality when you got in front of groups? Because I went to this guy's town hall and nothing that you hear about on the news
Yeah.
were audience questions, nothing.
Nothing.
It was shocking. So how about you? What are your experience?
Well, the questions that I get are basically what I've been talking about here today. It's the affordability issue, it's I can't afford health care. It's housing costs are skyrocketing, I can't find a place to live, there's a housing shortage.
And if you do, you can't afford it.
And
Yeah.
it's not the marginal issues that both parties really have used as wedge issues.
Yeah.
To try to drive a wedge. When I'm a mediator in a legal case, I start with, what can we agree on? And this sounds a little silly, but if it's a car accident case, I say, can we agree that there was a car accident? People say, oh, of course.
Obviously.
Okay, we got that. Or can we agree that someone was injured? Yeah, but not as bad. Okay, we'll get to that, but can we agree that someone was injured? Yes, okay, that's a starting point. And I think when I get to Congress, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, that's where you start. Where can we agree?
Yeah.
I've said this several times when I've been on the campaign trail. One of the first people I'm gonna go talk to and sit down and see, what could we do together is James Lankford. I don't agree with Senator Lankford on many things, but I think he is willing to talk about things. He may have divergent views, but I think his interest is to help Oklahomans. So let's find things we can work together on.
And he needs some help to get things through. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
is not
He
good at
literally
getting
is
things
bad
through.
about getting stuff.
Might be a good guy, but
Right.
hard time
He
getting things
has
through. Is
he
that
seems to
fair?
have a hard time
Yeah.
pulling a coalition of people together.
Right.
Right and left,
Yeah.
and that's the thing, so this is a national office, you're
It's
going
a big deal.
to Washington, so we're talking national issues.
Right.
So when it comes to current events and stuff, how do you feel about Iran?
Mm.
How do you feel about our foreign,
Support of Israel.
just
Israel,
foreign
yeah.
policy, what's your position on that?
Yeah, I think we have to approach, Sean, you used the word reasonable. I think we have to be reasonable, cautious,
Mhm.
strategic, and wise. Okay, so those are character qualities. I've talked about how important character is.
Yeah.
in a
We
leader-
did that on our TikTok, so you might want to redo it.
Okay, but I believe leadership lives at the intersection of competence and character.
Mhm.
So you've got to have people who have fundamental values
Mhm.
that resonate with people as a basis, and then competence to carry it out. So let's go back to your question, Kate.
Yep.
Dealing with Iran or Israel, people and countries act out of what they perceive to be their own best
Best
interest, okay? So.
It should
you
be
go-
expected.
You go in there understanding that. And Ronald Reagan recognized that. He said, trust, but verify. You know, with the nuclear weapons, you trust them, they say they're gonna reduce them, but you gotta verify it too.
Yeah.
And so you do the same thing with all foreign countries,
Mhm.
understanding they all have their own idiosyncrasies and history, and Iran especially, centuries.
And
of-
negotiating skills,
Yeah.
because they are phenomenal negotiators.
Right.
I think I got another great question here too.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Chuck Schumer being leader of the Senate?
You know, it's interesting. I was asked that question last night for the first time.
Really?
Nobody had asked that.
Yeah.
People have commented on Chuck Schumer to me, and they say, well, you know, you're a Democrat, if you get elected, you'll just be under the thumb of Chuck Schumer.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't think I've ever lived under the thumb of anybody.
Yeah.
I've always spoken my mind. Sometimes I'm in the minority of one.
Yeah.
That's okay with me. I'm
Well,
self-confident.
would you vote
enough.
for him for leader of the Senate if you were in there?
It depends on what my alternatives are.
I got you.
Yeah, I
fair.
think he
fair.
feels a little worn out
Yeah.
to the American people. And he seems to be more divisive than he is finding ways to build coalitions. I don't know, maybe Cory Booker is a guy that
Yeah.
could do that. I think there is a need for fresh leadership, really, in the
Mhm.
House and in the Senate.
I think we would all agree on that one.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say that is you come from the point of just being the attackee. Well, when you're in charge, the guns go to the other side, and so you gotta have people, for one, that can wield that off and still be able to operate, and some people can't work under fire.
Yeah.
You've done some weird jobs, I actually would say that.
Now, you
Well, I mean,
mentioned
you're
something.
not weird bad,
Yeah.
but you know, how many people have been in charge of Goodwill?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
rare.
Well, and when I took over Goodwill, 2 weeks later, COVID hit.
Nah.
And
Wow,
it was
Wow.
what a
like,
time.
wow, you know, I'm still trying to learn this organization, and now I've got to deal with closing all the stores and temporary layoffs.
And trying to learn everything from a distance.
Yeah, but one thing I did, this is a theme that really flows through my whole career and is inherent in my character, is I wanted to make sure our people are taken care of. Let's stay in contact with them, even though our temporary layoff.
Right.
And so I began doing videos. And I'm not a TikTok guy or.
Oh, you will
very
be.
good. You know, I do these, and then people offer suggestions like, Jim, hold the camera a different way,
Yeah.
you know.
We're looking up your nose.
But I was trying to do something to connect with people.
Yeah.
And then I
There you go.
continued to do it every week. I'd go out to the warehouse, I'd go to the stores and just talk to people. And they were like, I've never seen a CEO before. You know, they don't come. to
Much
the
less
warehouse."
down, filming, right?
So you talked about affordability and housing prices. How in a open market like that,
Mhm.
are you gonna be able to do that without instituting a whole bunch of what they call big government in order to control prices, which is.
Okay, so big government versus big companies, we gotta actually throw that in there. I mean,
Yeah, I
when
guess
did
you're
we
right.
not penalize monopolies? Sorry,
Yeah.
just
Well, I guess
jumped
you're
in on
right,
your
but-
question.
But how does that have to do, well, that's great, because I love that.
Big
answer,
government
because
or
what
big
does that-
companies?
How does
Which
that play into affordability as well? How, what can the Congress do about that, or can they?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things, and I talk about this in my own podcast, or not podcast, but my Facebook post, I think we have to be creative in the ways that we approach these things. So people say, well, that won't work, we tried it before, or that's a crazy idea. Well, how's it working now? You know, you don't like my plan, but what's your plan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we can tweak it and
There's
see if
gotta
it
be
works better.
something, because, you talk about bringing down, and then you're talking about people's equity that they have in their homes,
Right.
which is a big thing that the middle class has, and you're like, wait a minute, you're talking about my equity here. And then, but you're right, we need some kind of affordable options for the middle class and even the lower middle class to be able to get housing, so, cause we do have a homeless problem, but really, I think that's more of a mental health
Maybe the
issue.
guy to,
Yeah.
But really,
maybe
you
the
know,
guy to
'cause-
talk to.
But,
Right.
affordability and then you get into trying to control the markets and stuff
Right.
like that, and then
Yeah.
you scare a lot of people.
Well, I think there has to be a public-private partnership, and it begins with making sure that corporations and billionaires are paying their fair share.
Of taxes.
Warren Buffett the other day was talking about how much money, and it's like $5 billion he pays in taxes. And he said, if other companies would pay taxes the way we pay taxes, there would be no
It would be
need for
good.
other people to pay any taxes. Well, that's a bit of a pipe dream. They're probably never gonna do that.
Right.
But we've gotta move toward that, so we have to sit down and have kind of mediation discussions
Yeah.
with the heads of these corporations and say, look, guys, we're at the state in our country where the division that is dividing our country is not so much left and right as it is top and bottom.
Mhm.
And the people at the
That's
bottom
James
are not,
Talarico's.
yeah, they're not getting a fair deal. And we need to institute a new fair deal. And
Yeah,
I'm,
kind of like well, I know Elizabeth Warren talked about Glass-Steagall and all that stuff, and that really put in a lot of controls, put the guardrails on so that we didn't have extreme highs, extreme lows, extreme wealth over here and extreme poverty over there. Maybe something, looking to do something again like that.
Okay, you got 2 minutes, give us a closing.
okay, well, I think, the June 16th primary is coming up. We got
Mhm.
5 Democratic candidates. And I think they're all well-intentioned. They want to do something to improve. The question particularly for Democratic voters in June 16 is, who's our best chance to win in November? And I think if you look at my qualifications, the things that I've done in the past, what I talked about earlier, competence and character intersecting, I think I have the best chance to win that seat in November. And then it's not, I want to be the Democratic senator. I want to be the senator for Oklahoma, all Oklahomans. And I think we can do that by bringing America together again, finding ways to build coalitions, but making sure we're focusing and listening well to the problems that most working Americans are facing. If we do that, we put people on the moon. Jack Kennedy said, why do we go to the moon? Not because it's easy, but because it is hard, because it will bring the best of us, because it's a challenge that needs to be undertaken. We're unwilling to postpone, and we intend to win. And that's my motto for this campaign.
It's good elevator speak.
So you got a website?
JimPriest.com.
Where do they donate?
Yep, volunteer, donate,
Yep.
engage. It's easy to get discouraged and to sit back and say, it's a mess and I'm not gonna get involved, I'm gonna go fishing. Don't do that.
Right.
JimPriest.com.
Everybody's involved, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
They'll either be involved by somebody else telling you, or you'll be involved by being part of it. All right, thanks for coming in. It was awesome.
Hey, thank you
Check us
guys.
out.
It's the Will Rogers Experiment Podcast. You can catch us on iHeartRadio, Amazon, Spotify, and just about any of your favorite podcast deal. Of course, you can see it on Sean's Facebook Live, and I'll have a link on my Facebook as well. We'll see you guys.
They're very difficult to get out of.